afternoon. On behalf of Astro, a very warm welcome to the Addressable Future event. My name is Cynthia Ng, and I will be your MC today. I'm the editor and news anchor for Astro Awani, Astro's news network. And I would like to firstly thank everyone for being with us here. It is absolutely wonderful to see everyone here today. It's been too long, and really nothing beats seeing someone face-to-face and having that face-to-face conversation. So we know how busy everyone is, so we really appreciate you being here with us today for this exciting event. Now let's dive right in. Why are we here today? The simple answer is that consumers are changing. The way you and I consume content is unlike before. Consumers today move across media platforms in a very dynamic manner, from linear TV to video on demand to over-the-top OTT devices. And as advertisers, more than ever, there is a pertinent need for solutions to serve the right ad to the right audience at the right time. While the fundamentals of TV advertising haven't changed, the features and benefits certainly have, as on-demand audiences are growing rapidly and more fragmented. What does this mean for advertisers then? You need relevance, you need consumer impact. With data-driven targeting taking center stage in the ever-changing media landscape, marketers, be prepared to embrace the next gen of audience targeting on TV with Astro Addressable Advertising. Before we get started, please allow me to present a short video on addressable advertising. There you go. Now, we are very excited today because we have with us, thank you. We are very excited today because we have a panel of speakers from both the international and local media and advertising industry as we look to launch the first addressable advertising solution in Southeast Asia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Mr. Henry Tan, Group Chief Executive Officer of Astro Malaysia Holdings Berhad, to give the opening remarks.
Hello everyone, thank you for being here. Indeed, so good to see so many of you, so many familiar faces. It's been a long while, I think over 2 years since we last seen each other in person. So thank you for being here and welcome to Astro's Addressable Advertising. Earlier on, as I was driving here on the highway, I was kind of like somewhat held back because there was this Mercedes car, E-Class. It was on the fast lane and going rather slow and kind of like, you know, holding back the traffic. You know. Can't help notice the driver, probably a middle-aged man, looks somewhat conservative and most likely a business owner. Then I was trying to, you know, find my way to overtake this Mercedes. There was this black BMW that came and just overtake both of us and zoom across. And I wish I could help profile, but I can't simply because the cars was so darkly tinted that I can't really tell you who the driver was. But I would suspect it might be somebody from the agency here, you know. And then on the far left in the middle lane, I noticed there was a Volvo XC40 and quite a sweet looking girl driving the car. So I would think she's probably a greenie. Believes that, you know, in supporting and buying the car that Volvo's promise was that you buy a car, a Volvo, they will plant a tree in your support. So I suspect she's probably a greenie and supported those kind of motivations, right? And also one of those who believe in speed cap, meaning I think most of you know that Volvo is advocating that all cars have a speed cap at 160 km. So, you just go up to that level and then the car doesn't go beyond 160. I'm sure you'll divide different people with different views. Some will say, oh, that's crazy, I would like to go beyond that. And some will say, that's fantastic because that's safety for everyone. Then, all of a sudden, there was this silver car at full throttle, full speed, right? I was already going quite fast, probably about 130 on the highway. This car was full speed, full throttle, overtook me quite recklessly and quite dangerously. And I was like, whew, crazy driver. So if you are looking for the next Malaysian Formula One driver, please look out for MyV Perudua drivers. Right? They are your true daredevils, right? And I always tell people in Malaysia, irrespective what car you drive, how fast you go, there is always a Perudua MyV in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming for this event. I think that the timing is really apt. So irrespective of the kind of people you're trying to target, and I use the car in my journey here as just an illustration, right? I think there is an addressable advertising solution out there for you. And I think today's timing is quite perfect. As we all know that for a long time coming, the technology companies and all rely on third-party cookies to deliver targeted ads based on consumers' online behaviors and preferences. And all of you are aware that recently the major tech companies have some have discontinued and some have announced plans to discontinue their support for third-party cookie tracking their web browsers by the year 2023. So the end or death of third-party cookies will affect how publishers and marketers advertise, specifically on identity, addressability, as well as targeting. Today, with smart data and technology, we use data-driven household profiles to build the ideal audience segment and target these audiences with TV. You have the same program, but you have different ads for different consumers or different homes. This is where Astro's addressable advertising comes in. To put it simply, Astro's addressable advertising means catering to each and every different segment of the audience out there with advertising content meant specifically for them, regardless of what time of the day it is. The future of TV is now more diverse, with new opportunities for marketers creating a better, more personal TV experience. At Astro, we have gone beyond big data. It is now the era of smart data, where we leverage first-party data to create relevant, personalized experiences, whilst gaining valuable audience insights that help brands build great customer experiences. We believe Astro's addressable advertising efforts offers winning solutions as advertisers get better conversions and return of their advertising investment. TV, as we know, has evolved beyond the big screen to now TV anytime, anywhere. Now you can watch live Premier League matches, catch on demand the latest episodes of Stranger Things, Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Malaysia's #1 entertainment show, Gegar Vaganza, and Astro original series, Hysteria, on big screen TVs and also on smartphones. So TV is much more expensive now than ever before, and it's evolved to fit into consumer streaming and mobile lifestyles. As part of our transformation plan and our streaming aggregation strategy to be Malaysia's #1 entertainment destination, Astro has built a platform-agnostic ecosystem that generates a rich set of first-party data which provides holistic view of its customers' video consumption, habits across linear TV, video on demand, and Astro Go. And this is the part, I guess, we hope the agencies will pay a little bit attention and be what I will call fair to us. And I'll explain in a short while why. On linear TV, Astro has a viewership share of 72%, with average daily viewers of 11.3 million, and an average daily time span of 187 minutes. This is the more exciting part now. On-demand video stream jumped 2.4 times to 530 million, with average weekly viewing time increased by 17% to 693 minutes. On Astro Go, its monthly active users is now at 919,000, with average viewing time increased by 27% to 244 minutes. Whilst our linear viewership had a slight decline, that's what I mean by agencies, please be fair to us, our overall viewership has strengthened with more customers viewing on demand and on the go. So if you factor all in, we are actually far stronger in our viewing today than in the past. And in summary, Astro commands 4 hours of viewing daily. I mean, people might be surprised, but that's exactly what the data is telling us. Can you imagine? Every day, our viewers spend 4 hours with us across different platforms. Not necessarily on TV, linear, but including our on-demand, including our Astro Go. As I've always maintained, TV is the most persuasive means of advertising, bar none. However, the way it is measured and reported is outdated. Now we are putting technology into a premium trusted environment to make sure advertisers have more efficient ways to reach their intended consumers than they've ever had before. Using Astro's first-party data, marketers can target their ads to segments based on income, location, dwelling types, purchasing behavior, and thus creating a highly relevant context and personalized ads for their viewers. I am pleased to also share with all of you that Astro is the first to launch addressable advertising in Southeast Asia. Thank you. Looks like my remote has run out of battery. Having built such a robust first-party data, we are uniquely positioned to pioneer addressable advertising, the next level of TV advertising that merges the best of TV's emotional persuasion power with smart data, the intelligence and targeting capabilities of digital. So in short, you really get the best of both worlds. Emotional persuasion, digital type targeting, and accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look forward really with addressable advertising to reinvent the whole TV advertising landscape with you. And to conclude, I would just like to say that irrespective of what car you drive, and irrespective of what drivers you are trying to target at, there is an addressable advertising solution for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you very much, Henry, for giving us an overview of the addressable advertising within the Astro ecosystem. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to get the most out of this event today, so we want to hear from you too. So if you have any questions, please send them through this QR code. If you can put it up, this QR code displayed on the screen behind me. At any given time throughout the event, you can submit questions to our speakers that's coming up later, and I'll try to get them answered for you. All right? Okay, moving on. Addressable TV advertising requires a full-fledged supporting ecosystem to flourish, and the time for collaboration in Asia is finally here. TV has changed a lot over the years, and as we move towards an on-demand world with many platforms to consume content, where does addressable TV stand in all of this? To explore this topic and provide insight into this matter, I would now like to invite to the stage Mr. Vivek Koto, co-founder and executive director, Media Partners Asia, to give his presentation on the topic, The Market for Addressable and CTV Advertising, a Global Perspective with Focus on Asia. Please welcome Mr. Vivek. Now, we are very honored to have Vivek here today because Vivek drove all the way from Singapore to be with us. And he could be very well the guy in the BMW that overtook Henry earlier. Not the Myvi, the BMW, okay? So Vivek is a very familiar name in the industry. I'm sure a lot of you know him, and a very much sought after thought leader in media and entertainment. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction, and it's great to be back in Malaysia for the first time, I think, since the end of 2019. Henry and the Astro team, congratulations on the launch of Astro's addressable advertising platform today, and the first in Southeast Asia. Completely agree with Henry. Pre-pandemic, through the pandemic, and going forward over the next decade, television is very much transforming. We see the future of TV through connected TV, through BVOD and on-demand solutions, really revitalizing the traditional business to a new future. We've put together a short presentation here really to frame some of the discussions. As Henry suggested, addressable advertising, particularly for television platforms, is relatively new in Southeast Asia. Obviously, Sky has done it in the UK. In the US, it's very much developing. And we're seeing it also develop at fairly rapid pace in Australia. So we want to share some of those perspectives, some of the data, and then happy to host some questions on that later. Just a moment, pause on this. Right. So, you know, as we look here in terms of the global TV advertising picture, it's been through a turbulent time. We've obviously come through a pandemic, and TV existentially and also literally in terms of budgets has faced a lot of structural challenges, particularly as consumers have transitioned online. The consensus forecast is that globally TV advertising actually grew by 10% last year. Now, because of the depths of last year's, 2020 pandemic's decline, when the whole industry globally on average lost 15 to 20%, you're only seeing the TV ad numbers globally return to sort of pre-pandemic levels next year. A lot of the future years are going to be flat for TV in most of the major markets around the world, because advertisers are shifting their spends to other forms of media, particularly online. But this will be offset in part by the growing demand to what media buyers call digital extensions, or what we call addressable solutions, or selling across connected TV and BVOD players, leveraging TV content online and scaling that via CTV. So if you look at the total TV advertising pie globally, it's expected to be around $170 to $180 billion this year. And off that figure, roughly $20 billion is going to go to connected TV and addressable advertising. Addressable TV, as Henry suggested, gives brands and marketeers the ability to reach audiences based on a lot of different data points, demographical, socioeconomic, location, and behavioral. Now, one of the things that we're still interested in TV, according to this analysis from Group M, and we've sort of rounded it out by producing some numbers for India and Malaysia and Australia, is that large brands are still betting on TV. And you can see last year in 2021, generally on average, large brands were allocating somewhere between 40 to 45% of advertising budgets to TV, including CTV and addressable, and about 30 to 35%, sometimes towards 40%, to internet-based media. And this includes certain markets in Asia. Now, while there remains this significant gap between digital overall and TV advertising, in many developed markets. And while digital will overtake TV in a number of key Asian markets, connected TV and addressable platforms in general will keep TV resilient in a lot of markets, particularly such as Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia, and India. And sometimes they'll offset declines in traditional TV advertising, which has suffered declines in traditional viewership in the last few years, particularly in Southeast Asia. So the focus, and a lot of the focus of the discussion today, is really on this global addressable and connected TV ad opportunity. And obviously this covers all the digital extensions that we've talked about, professionally produced TV content that goes online, so basically broadcast video on demand, BVOD, addressable, and CTV. And this pie is going to grow substantially. We're forecasting in 2027 up to more than $40 billion. And a lot of advertisers and marketeers are very keen to capitalize on the rise of these different verticals within this segment because of premium differentiation, the ability to target and localize, particularly in the case of CTV, and the heightened reliance on data, or first-party data, the ability to build and grow brands, and really show, capitalize on where a large and growing share of viewing is shifting from traditional TV to CTV. The overall addressable TAM, or the total addressable market for CTV, is also growing rapidly in a lot of markets. There's a lot of scale actually achieved outside of India. So the key drivers, obviously, of smart TV adoption, very strong in a lot of these markets, and IP and broadband-based services. And you're seeing more and more BVODs and traditional broadcasters increasingly capitalizing on markets like, on CTV growth in markets like Australia and Japan, and from a low base in India. Globally, the United States and the UK are amongst the most advanced markets, with penetration ranging from about 65% in the UK to 83% in the US, and they're projected to grow, incrementally to 80 to 90% over the next 5 years. Within Asia Pacific, Japan leads today with around 70% penetration, and we estimate penetration will reach 90% over the next 5 years. Australia's coming towards 60%, expected to grow to 80% in the next 5 years. India is still a very, very mobile-heavy market, and penetration small at 5%, but that's going to grow, and we see estimates of penetration going up to 25 to 30%. And then you've got Southeast Asia, Indonesia, under 30%, but expected to grow quite rapidly to 50% plus. Malaysia at about 30% today, and expected to grow to 55% over the next 5 years. Now, as we look at the actual CTV and addressable opportunity in some of these key markets, we are defining here a new segment called premium video, which includes addressable advertising, CTV advertising, and within that, BVOD, or broadcast video on demand advertising. And we're seeing these markets obviously at different stages of growth. In the United States, the premium video advertising captured in this market is already fairly significant, and it's expected to grow quite significantly over the next 5 years. It's about $11 billion today, growing at 20 to 25% a year to $30 billion. To give you some context, TV advertising is $60 billion, and premium video is $11 billion included in that pie going forward. In the UK, TV advertising is represented here, and premium video, the big addressable and connected opportunity, is less than $500 million and is projected to double up to $1 billion. In Australia, the market is similar size to the UK and is expected to grow to $800 million in the next 5 years, and a very, very important revenue stream, particularly as traditional TV advertising declines and in a market like Australia. In India, premium video is still small but significant at around 400 million, expected to grow to around 800 million over the next 5 years. And then looking further down in markets like Indonesia and Malaysia, you can see premium video still growing very nascently in Indonesia, where they don't have an addressable solution. So it's largely free-to-airs and big broadcasters capitalizing on the CTV segment. So still small at about $100 million, but expected to scale quite significantly over the next 5 years. And Malaysia, of course, is just starting here, and we're projecting 25% growth over the next 5 years to around $50 million a year for premium video. Now, the whole reason this is something to get excited about is because connected TV and addressable does drive TV's future in a lot of the ad spends that we can see in this market. Again, allocated to premium video. So in the United States, you can see the share of premium video as the overall market sort of saturates and develops. That share doubles up from about 13% to 25%. We've obviously included the big internet, online video, UGC social video players here within the UGC segment. In the UK, premium video doubles up share from 6% to 12%. In Australia, from about 6% to 10%. And in India, premium video is still nascent, and UGC will also remain very, very significant. In Indonesia, it's a big spike up from 7% to 17%. And in Malaysia, we're seeing it grow to potentially 10% in the next 5 years. It's interesting to look at the US, which is a very, very advanced market where you have a lot of connected set-top boxes, a lot of ad solutions pioneered by players such as Comcast and others. Today, linear television advertising is expected to fully transition to addressable and connected TV. So that means connected TV today, and the addressable opportunity is about $14 billion. That's expected to grow to a massive $80 billion over time. Small brands also are very, very interested in this opportunity because right now, most of their strategies are developed across online search and online social. So they want to divert a portion of this ad spend through CTV. So today, the way it is in the US, approximately 80% of linear TV advertising is really represented by the big 400 to 500 brands in the US, and they use their budgets to purchase advertising inventory at scale. And these brands have always looked at striving for reach, frequency, and of course linear TV has historically done the job. But there's been a failure in the system, and it's been much reported over the last 3 years. Different ratings agencies changed, different measurement agencies changed, and basically, how do you measure, traditional TV, linear TV? Its limited capabilities, and this has been some of the issues that advertisers and marketeers have been facing. Now, there's also an additional 9 million additional advertisers who are kind of mid-sized, small companies. They have relatively smaller ad budgets, and some of them don't even have relationships with ad agencies. So a lot of these have been really sucked up by the search and social digital giants, but now they're looking to addressable and connected TV to reach customers, really target ad campaigns, and have very granular, targeted, and return on spend data drivers going forward. So the future could look something like this. Today in the US, you have addressable and connected TV CPMs ranging around $20 to $30. And as most of it migrates, you're going to see an upward increase. Most local advertisers generally prefer to target households, within a 5-mile radius, particular zip code, know the location, know the demographic of the household, and CTV and addressable gives them that solution. So targeting is becoming very, very powerful, and a lot of the broadcasters and platforms are benefiting. And CPMs are going up. They're already ranging, historically, as I said, 20 to 30. They're now going up to 40 to 50. And a lot of examples of these advertisers that target customers with addressable solutions and really look at tight geographies, particular demos, health, beauty, restaurant, and businesses subjected to very design localities, design trade areas, auto, very important category. And this has really made CPMs increase. And of course, people need to have the desired CTV and inventory to do that. So as I said, expect it to go up to almost just $75 in the next few years. And there's a lot of demand from big brands as well, who are now transitioning from linear TV spend to CTV. Now, it's not just all, of course, about traditional television moving to CTV and the channels and so forth. YouTube is still a very important presence on CTV, and it is competing head-on with some of these brands. But as I said, the opportunity is huge. It's basically, you know, $14 billion today, repurposing to move up to $80 billion in the next 5 years, which is very, very significant and has really, really brought a lot of value back to broadcasters in the United States. Of course, we'll be hearing from some of the, one of the pioneers of this system later today. AdSmart was one of the first, even prior to Comcast and some of the cable operators in the US, that developed through the Sky platform in the US. I think it started in 2014. We just summarized some of the highlights here so far, which keep on getting updated. Today, that AdSmart platform, which is sort of, you know, Astro has, I guess, a 3.0 incarnation of that, localized towards Malaysia. You know, more than 1,500 businesses have used TV because of AdSmart. And now that's expanded to other UK broadcasters, and I'm sure more will be announced in the coming days and weeks, and the Virgin platform. So it's sort of democratized the ad industry and landscape in the United Kingdom. It's made TV available to businesses, I think, in 70% of households now. And it's delivered to around 20,000 campaigns, as we suggest here. And it's also now expanded onto Virgin Media. So that means 30 million individuals are reachable in the UK. And I think about a third of all AdSmart campaigns are, you know, creating geographical attributes that aren't possible or haven't been possible on other platforms. So postcode areas, counties, drive time being the most popular. And of course, since launching on the Sky channels, and I'm sure Henry will have a view on this, you know, Sky's also democratized the ecosystem and has a lot of partners amongst free-to-air broadcasters and other third-party paid channels. So Channel 5's on there, and then you've got a lot of partners like Viacom, NBC Universal, Discovery, A&E, and Fox, who've also joined this platform. Just in terms of some research that came out from this platform, there was a lot of different takeouts that we could have suggested, but just keeping it simple. The first one, just from a consumer engagement, the deployment of this platform showed that really the channel switching for consumers reduced by almost 50% when they had addressable ads served as opposed to standard ads. The enjoyment of TV advertising increased by 10%. So they started to like TV advertising more. They were more engaged. There was a 10 to 20% higher emotional response, and really had basically, compared to linear audiences, a much more significant growth on emotional engagement. Ad engagement, of course, through AdSmart grows up to about 30 to 40%. Good recall increases, which was around 10%, and brand awareness, of course, increasing by a significant number as well. Let's just move through this. So just looking in the UK, apologies, it's slightly a bit of a textual slide, but as you look at the future, which could be sort of instructive for Malaysia, you're seeing three things come together, which is basically, obviously, the addressable smart solutions, the advertising on BVOD, as a lot of broadcasters move online, connected TV, and of course YouTube, which is going to continue to grow strongly. AVOD pure play is growing from a slow base, but it's taking a bit of time, to be frank, particularly on platforms such as Pluto TV and such. YouTube is increasing CTV dramatically. There's been a big growth, and there's a massive rise in BVOD viewing. I think about 70% also of UK BVOD viewing is now taking place on connected TV. In addition, you're seeing this dynamic ad replacement in broadcast TV, which is expanding with better distribution on Sky's AdSmart platform, and also Sky's DAR-compatible set-top boxes. Sky Q, Now TV, so forth, is adding more to that platform. Japan is not, you know, very complicated market. Obviously, Dentsu, very powerful in that market, and terrestrial TV controlled the market. But what we've seen in Japan is quite interesting. connected TV advertising is clearly growing, but we're also seeing the first birth of BVOD in Japan, largely by a company called TVer, which is a collection of 4 or 5 broadcasters, Fuji TV, Nippon TV, Tokyo Broadcasting, and so forth. And they have a significant business in Japan. Just in terms of MAUs, you know, they're bigger than Netflix, bigger than Disney, bigger than a lot of SVOD platforms. And they're around 20 million MAUs. I think about 15% share, which is expressed in this chart through BVOD, which we measure. And you're seeing CTV advertising, not just for TVer, but for other local Japanese players, grow from a very low base to almost $1 billion plus. A lot of it is driven by CTV. And as I said, TVer basically allows Japanese consumers to watch catch-up dramas, variety, news, and sports on a broadcast video on demand platform. In Australia, we've seen a significant decline in TV advertising overall, though metropolitan free TV is important. It's still growing. But a lot of the sector's growth has been really led by broadcast video on demand, driven by commercial broadcasters, monetizing with live sports and AVOD, and also really increasing their presence on connected TV and monetizing that. So you have couple of platforms that we mentioned here, 9 Now, which is owned by 9, 7 Plus by 7, and a slightly smaller platform called 10 Play. And these have established their own measurement. So they've come together to have one currency right across Australia called VOZ. And they've also been bolstered by the growth of connected TV advertising, which is contributing a significant portion of their revenues over 22 to 27. So BVOD's share of digital video advertising in Australia, it's only 13% now, but it's expected to reach 24 to 25% over the next 4 to 5 years. This just shows the massive growth in connected TV. The big, I guess, watershed moment was, through COVID, was the Tokyo Olympics, which of course happened last year. So that really grew the connected TV base for the BVOD segment in Australia. And the market has also, of course, grown historically through the rapid adoption of smart TV sets, device proliferation, and hybrid services. So you have premium SVOD apps, BVOD apps, and FTA channels that are all available through CTV now. In India, just to wrap up, because obviously it's a very small market, but actually the demand for addressable and connected solutions is increasing in India, particularly on hybrid pay TV operators like Airtel and Tata Sky and other companies. So today, hybrid boxes enjoy a very high adoption ratio of 30%, or actually 50%, and most of that is driven by linear TV consumption, which accounts for the majority of time spent, interestingly enough. Not OTT, which, I mean, India has 80 OTT services, but it's largely traditional linear TV that's driving this in the home. And as we go forward and look at the market for connected TV advertising, still small in terms of gaining momentum because the inventory fill rates are fairly low. But we see the TAM for CTV increasing in India, and it actually reached to a fairly decent number because a lot of people are looking at unique solutions. A lot of people are looking for ROI to really justify budgets. So we're seeing the CTV opportunity in India growing to around $450 million by 2026. That's close to 10% of TV advertising. And video ads are going to contribute at least 65% of those revenues, and the balance comes from banner. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vivek, for that insightful presentation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, can I just kindly remind you that we will be taking questions, so please scan the QR code right up front, and if you have any, please send them through and I'll get the speakers to answer them. Okay. All right, we are coming to our next session of our event, whereby I'd like to invite on stage a panel of speakers for a fireside chat entitled, "Can Addressable Advertising Reshape the Future of TV?" Now, as we give some time for our guys up here to arrange the chairs on stage, I'd like to introduce our panel of speakers and invite them on stage if they're ready. All right, we are about ready. So first and foremost, I would like to invite Mr. Jamie West. Jamie is the founding partner of Innovate TV and former Deputy Managing Director of Sky Media. Now, Jamie flew in from London yesterday. Thank you very much, Jamie. Jamie has over 30 years experience in media and the advanced advertising sector with more than 10 years of experience at Sky, leading advanced advertising products across addressable with AdSmart, analytics, video and online. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Bala Pumale, Chief Executive Officer of Media Brands, Malaysia. Can I also have Mr. Jawad Jaffrey, or better known as JJ, to join him on stage. JJ is the media and digital hub lead for Unilever Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, Cambodia and Laos. All right. Next up, can I have Ms. Sheila Shanmugan, Chief Executive Officer of Mindshare Group Malaysia? And rounding up the panel, can we have Mr. Tai Kam Leong, Head of Brand and Marketing at Maxis. All right. Now this session will be moderated by our very own Kenny Ong, Director of Astro Media Solutions, who is also the CEO of Astro Radio and Rocket Fuel Entertainment. A big round of applause. Now, I'd like to remind our audience that we do want to hear from you, so please send through your questions via Slido, and we will take them after the fireside chat. Now, if you can indulge me for a couple of minutes to kickstart this conversation. Many of you in the audience here today are advertisers or from the media agencies, but I believe there are some of you are business owners as well. And perhaps for some of us, this is the first time we are hearing about addressable TV advertising. If I can throw this question to our panel to kickstart the conversation, how does addressable TV work differently from traditional TV advertising, and how will this be a game changer to the industry? Can I start with Jamie?
So I guess the best way of describing it is that if you imagine that we all lived on the same street and on the same night, the same moment in time, we're watching the same program, we all saw different ads. And we saw different ads because, you know, I'm going to see someone of low affluence. Kenny will see a very high affluent household, you know, and it'll work like that. And I think, that's the basic essence of addressability. Different ads served to different households based on first-party data or attributes. But I think the most important thing about addressable is that it allows really granular targeting, but also, if you're really clever about it, really granular insight of campaign effectiveness. And so really bringing the power of TV alongside only the very best bits of digital.
Thank you, Jamie. Now, over to you, Kenny.
Thanks, Cynthia. Okay, so let's get it started. I think Vivek mentioned that addressable TV kind of like started in the UK through a program called AdSmart. And we have here one of the pioneers of AdSmart. So Jamie was one of those people there who started it at the time. So my first question right off the bat is, what was the journey like? How did it get started, over in Sky?
So when I think about the history, if you like, of addressable, I guess there are really three phases in sort of UK and the US. I guess the first phase was really when the cable operators in the US launched a form of addressability in their regional opt-out minutes. And that was pretty light in terms of capability, swapping out ads within the minute and hour that they got within their deals with the programmers. Sky then launched in 2014, and that phase, I guess, really made every single channel, every single break, every single minute of advertising available to be addressable. So it really transformed addressability. And then the third phase of addressability is where in the UK, US, Europe we are today, which is how people think about addressable now, which is a single campaign across multiple platforms, combining addressable on linear, BVOD or broadcast video on demand and connected TV, being able to unify targeting, unify measurement, and unify reporting. So I think we're really on a journey of addressability, and having worked with the Astro team over the last sort of 9 or so months, you know, this is a really exciting time for Astro because, you know, quite frankly, they've learned from all of our mistakes, and what they're coming to market with is really transformational.
Okay, next question. I mean, all companies struggle with what to invest in terms of new technology, and I'm sure at the point in time when you first started, addressable advertising was a fairly new concept, right? What was the rationale in the investment in such an advanced technology?
Yeah, so it wasn't one single thing, but obviously the biggest driver was the commercial benefit, but I'll come back to that. I think there were 3 factors when I remember back. The first was that we absolutely recognized that viewing was fragmenting or shifting between linear and on-demand. And we believed that, you know, it was really important that we had a consistent capability across all services. So, you know, if you're going to service or serve an advertising community, there'll be little point in having different targeting capability on linear to on VOD. So we knew that we had to resolve that. The second was, when I think about the consumer and the viewer, we were already building part of the capability. We knew that we had to make better content recommendations. We knew that we had to surface things into the UI, so content into the UI that was more relevant to the consumer. So part of the technology was being built anyway. But the commercial argument was really quite simple. You know, we saw that there was an exponential rise in revenue growth to digital platforms. Whether at the time I thought that was valid or not, it was happening. And I remember specifically the board meeting where we had to present to the board the investment case. And broadly, the numbers were, or the logic was that, look, we are competing within a TV market for a share of revenue broadly at the time that was about £4.5–5 billion. My rationale was, when I looked at the total marketing spend in the UK at the time, it was about £25 million. And when I thought about what proportion of that was addressable, I thought our competitive market, instead of being £4.5–5 billion, was nearer 18 to 20. And we didn't have to convert much of that to prove a good return on investment. And we didn't have to really sort of change the way the market was thinking to capitalize on the opportunity. So those were the real 3 sort of drivers for the investment and the strategy.
I mean, when did addressable or Sky Ad Smart was launched in Europe, and which country specifically?
So the first thing I should say, it launched a lot later than we intended. It took a lot longer and it cost a lot more money. But we went live with our test and learn phase in 2013. And that ran for about 5 months before shifting to open market in the UK in 2014. I think it was then in 2016 or so that we launched in Italy, and it wasn't really until 2019 that we launched in Germany. Slightly different capabilities in each market, mainly because of regulation, but the ambition is the same across all territories and broadly utilize the same technology and technology stack.
Okay.
So how do you go about launching a capability that's probably a bit new and alien to the market at that point? Can you tell us a bit more about the capabilities then?
Yeah, so I think it was really important that we phased it, and I talked about the test and learn phase, and one of the the really important thing that we strive to achieve was to make sure that we had a real range of advertisers. So rather than just going to the existing advertisers, we really strive to get a different group. So we launched local capabilities. So I remember the very first advertiser on the platform was a local car dealer down in Portsmouth, small place on the south coast of UK, selling, they created a specific Ford Fiesta. Don't know if you have that in Malaysia, but a bit like the car that Henry described. But its unique capability was for the same budget or same cost, you got it in red and it had electric mirrors. Now, bear in mind, it was 2014. And so that was one. The other was Investec, the investment bank. Then we had some mass brands as well. And our absolute sort of goal was to build case studies and early learning in those first few months. And then in March 2014, we started transitioning to the open market phase, where pretty much we weren't restricting activity. We didn't insist on it being fully case study sort of capable, all that sort of thing.
So, Jamie, what are the key learnings from the early days of addressable in Europe?
So I guess you could think about learnings from different perspectives. So from my perspective, if I think about the things that I wish that I'd done differently, the main thing that I would change, if I had a magic wand, was that I wouldn't talk about the technology. I wouldn't talk about the intricate level of technology and the capability and what it really means. And I talk to you, as in the customer, the agencies and the advertisers, about how it can change business outcomes. You know, how it can complement existing media and how it should be rather, used within an existing selection of channels or media types. You know, addressability doesn't exist in isolation. It needs to be thought of within the context of your overall marketing budget. The second learning from an advertiser perspective was really, an agency perspective, is really make sure that you understand what you're trying to achieve. Now, of course, there will always be some advertisers or agencies that want to try something because it's new, but addressable is all about understanding your audience and your customer and how you're going to measure the effect. And then the third learning, I know I'm banging on a little bit, the third learning is that, you know, price isn't everything. Driving down the price is not the most important thing. It's understanding, you know, what return on investment you can generate. There are going to be a segment of society, as in this society in this room, that will only buy the most value-focused or cheapest price. But hold your nerve and work out how addressability can really drive return on investment on your campaigns would be the third learning that I'd give.
So, Jamie, how did addressable change the profile of customers and advertisers at Sky?
So I think Vivek gave some really interesting stats there, and I recognise a huge amount of them. But I think when I think about the profile change that addressable brought to the industry, there are two profiles that I think of: the profile of Sky, or in this case Astro, and the profile change for customers and advertisers. So when I think about advertisers, you know, Vivek gave the stat of more than 70% of the advertisers active on the platform are new to Sky. That required a different approach, a different language, you know, all of those sorts of things. So understanding what's important to a local advertiser or to an SME advertiser, or indeed to a really niche and targeted advertiser. So when I think about that first sort of year of activity, and to continue with Henry's story, you know, the type of automotive companies that were active on the platform range from Ford Fiesta all the way through to McLaren, Maserati, Porsche, and Aston Martin. You know, you would never think of those models or marques being active on TV, but those were. And then in terms of local, you'd have everything from a plumbing or gas company through to local car dealerships, through to local builders and tradesmen utilizing TV for the very first time. But equally, you know, in the FMCG sector, it would mean that, you know, someone like Procter & Gamble, you know, who hadn't had, I don't know what you call it, diapers, nappies, whatever, they weren't promoting that product on TV, but they used addressable because you could target households that included young children in terms of, so it really did change the profile from all sectors.
Any examples where they have utilized the platform and they have gotten some amazing results?
Yeah. You need to put the mic up.
Sorry. Any examples of brand they have utilized the platform and they have gotten some good results?
Yeah, so the question was, are there examples of how brands and advertisers have used addressable? And I think when I first started out selling or thinking about the concept of addressable, I really did think it was all going to be about, niche audiences. And, I described, Maserati, McLaren, Porsche, Aston Martin, all using TV for the first time. And that is true. Even in banking, that could be, or investment, that could be Investec or Coutts, the Queen's Bank, all using TV for the first time. So targeting really tightly or real niche audiences, absolutely, because you can also measure the effect. And I'll have you know that McLaren sold 2 cars totaling £260,000 in value on the back of a £50,000 campaign. Good return on investment. So you can see how it works for ROI in that example. But then in more broad terms, what we've seen more and more is thinking about a different kind of use case, for example. So when you think about a traditional sort of cover curve or incremental cover build chart that you've all presented hundreds of times, or you've all seen hundreds of times, we all intuitively and intrinsically know that in the second half of a campaign, the cost per incremental cover point becomes quite high. You're driving that incremental cover. So a number of advertisers and agencies in the UK and now in the US are using addressability on the second half of a campaign and accepting that it's a higher CPM because it's, it's more tightly targeted, but bringing down the cost per incremental cover point. But the overall driving up the potential reach and cumulative cover that you can build over a campaign. So thinking about how addressable can perform within the total campaign mix. And I think that's a really important sort of idea or concept, is thinking about what role addressability can play within a campaign. So potentially, in the future, there may be, and there is in the UK, for example, the ability to onboard first-party data via a clean room. So match an advertiser's database versus Astro's in this example via a clean room to protect customer privacy and commercially sensitive data, but only targeting specific customers. And what you could do if you're an advertiser is you could target lapsed customers with one creative, high-value customers with another, or existing customers with a promotion code to say well done or thank you. So all of the digital use cases that you understand and use every single day today can be applied in addressable with Astro tomorrow.
So, Jamie, 75% of our businesses in Malaysia are SME businesses, right? And they are at various stages of development. And the barrier to entry in TV advertising has always been the costs. So how do you see SMEs coming in and taking advantage of this benefit that addressable could offer?
Yeah, so, I mean, first, when you think about local or SME businesses, there are a number of barriers to entry for advertising on TV. There's complexity. So you need to make it easy for people to trade and transact and plan their campaigns. The second is creative. So you need to find a way that you can create ad creative so that, it's not a scary thing for them to do. The way that we did it is we partnered with creative agencies across the country. So there was always someone local to an advertiser. And then the third was to give them the flexibility to identify the audience they need or want to reach in absolutely granular terms. So, for example, when we first started, we had salespeople, traveling around the country. We started with only 10. It's now nearly 60 people for a country the size of the UK. 60 people going and speaking to small business owners. They put a pin on the map for the postcode or zip code for where they exist, and the advertiser can draw around their business to say, I want to reach these types of people, but I only want affluent, or I only want whatever. And so it's making it really easy to use and really flexible. But then the final point is making sure that you help them understand how they can measure the effect of a campaign. They may be using Google search, they may be thinking about footfall, but making sure that there is either there's a period where it's clean of advertising, like clear, or a control group, or those sorts of things where you have multiple sites or multiple venues. But ultimately, addressability is about partnering with brands and advertisers, not just selling campaigns.
So Jamie, there's always been a lot of experience and a lot of learnings that you've been sharing so far, but if you boil it down, what are some of the key metrics on the performance, particularly in the case of AdSmart?
So I wish we could get Vivek's chart back up because that had all of them. But I think, you know, for me, I think when I think about metrics of performance, there are three that stood out for me. The first is the number of advertisers that have been active on the platform. It's now to just over 2,000 now, up from the 1,500 or so that Vivek had on the slide. More than 70% of them are new to TV or new to Sky. That's pretty important. Of those, 75% are coming back and booking second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth campaigns. In fact, that first advertiser has just booked its 50th, that was at Christmas, 50th campaign. And that's just a regional car dealer. And his first budget, his first campaign was £4,500 just for the Portsmouth. His last one was £150,000. And then I think, you know, all those stats that Vivek put up about brand consideration, about customer loyalty, all of those things. But I think actually the thing that really surprised me more than anything else, which Vivek glossed over, was really about viewer engagement. And I guess intrinsically, in your gut, it makes you feel, you know, it seems logical, but in an ad break that includes addressable ads, overall ad switching, so, you know, not sure what to watch, we've come to an ad break, should I switch over or not? Overall ad break, channel switching reduced by more than a third versus the average. To specific addressable ads, it reduced by more than 50%. So addressable delivers great outcomes for advertisers, but it also delivers great outcomes for viewers because you've got more engaged viewers. And by default, by delivering a better return on investment for Astro, it means they can reinvest that money both in Astro media sales, but also in content for the platform. So it's kind of a win-win-win.
So what advice would you give marketers who are trying to look to test addressable advertising?
So I think the first bit of advice I would give is, you know, addressable is not like broad mass TV. You really need to think about it as, you know, within the KPI, think about what KPIs you're trying to shift or move. So understand your audience and why you're trying to reach them. It might be about targeting, you know, non-users, and so there'll be a different audience to the one you already use or interact with. But understand your audience first and learn as you go along. Understand what KPIs you're trying to shift and make sure you create an environment where you can measure it. And what do I mean by an environment where you can measure it? There is little point in running an addressable campaign if you have, you know, everything else on full throttle on every other marketing medium. So if addressable is only, you know, going to be 1 or 2% of your budget, you're not going to see a massive shift. So create a control group. And then the final piece that I would really advocate is work in partnership with Astro to make sure that you can identify these outputs and these outcomes. So work out how you can measure effectiveness, work with them to undertake post-campaign evaluation, work with them to help build out, and I'm sorry, actually, it's a new one that I've just thought of. What I loved more than anything else at AdSmart and at Sky was having advertisers that wanted to help us evolve the capability. The last thing I wanted was someone to say, great, thanks, it's worked for us, but I don't need anything else. But if someone came to me and said, look, what I'd really love is this targeting metric or this measurement capability or this way of engaging with you, then I knew what my future roadmap needed, or I knew what would be really highly demanded. So without overcommitting Astro and Astro media sales, that's the other thing that I would ask. So keep that two-way, or suggest, keep that two-way conversation going.
Okay, switching gears. We've got a lot of guests here who are from multinational companies and large companies. And I've got two leading marketers here, Ty and JJ. So this question is directed to you. And Jamie, if you want, you can pitch in as well. So my question is that how do you see addressable advertising, addressable TV, benefiting multinationals and large corporations, in your view, especially when we're always tracking things like reach and performance for your organization? So Ty, JJ, Jamie, yeah.
Okay, I think first of all, this is the perfect time to launch this platform in Malaysia. Because if you look back, what has changed pre-COVID and post-COVID, there's a massive, massive consumption happening in terms of video. Malaysia itself is one of the fastest growing market where the penetration is close to 50% and it's growing, and 24% growth rate. So fantastic. Second is, for any advertiser, any brand, the most important point is, which I think Jamie mentioned about, is it relevant for my consumer or for my brand or for my category? Because what the biggest issue we face right now, TV, is it relevant for Paddle Pop? Relevant for Magnum? No, okay, fine, but at least we have numbers to justify. Let's put the money. With this coming in, and hopefully with measurement coming in, we have better solution, and we have better targeting solution, and then obviously reach, CPL, cost per lead, CPMs, all will improve automatically. But yes, I agree with Jamie that we need to start experimenting, test and learn, but it will take some time in terms of putting in major share of investment. But we are looking forward to all these solutions coming in the market.
So I guess for us is, thanks for making TV exciting again. Because I really don't want to read another TV schedule where we're talking about GRPs and talking about base ROIs anymore. I mean, no offense. It's all good, well and good that we do talk about that, but I think this is really exciting, particularly for us in what we do. And as a matter of fact, I think about it on both ends of the spectrum, right? On one hand, on a company our size where we do have 10 million customers, I think the idea of being able to maximize the way we relate to multiple segments in society is immensely powerful. And the ability to not have to sequence them one after the other is really beneficial. So we could really kind of sort of reach for the stars and then kind of really experiment and not have it become sort of presentation fodder anymore. So I think that's on one end of it. On the other end of the spectrum, I think it also allows for healthy competition as emerging brands get to tap into the power of TV. So historically, I think there was a little bit of an artificial barrier that doesn't allow new startups, SMEs to really participate in the usage of this platform. And I think to Jamie's examples about that dealer in Portsmouth, I could imagine, we just came back from Kota Baru, for example, there are a huge groundswell of local entrepreneurs across every category, from fashion to cosmetics to food stuff in the East Coast. And they're hungry for such a solution. I think, this is not only exciting for us, but it's clearly exciting for that market as well.
Just to add on, I think for large MNCs especially, since you have such a huge range of product portfolio, right? I think it really helps on portfolio planning, because you can then now target in a more specific manner and phase out your campaigns as well.
Yeah, so I'm just going to add to that banter for a little bit. It's interesting. Actually, it's not your product portfolio. It's the customers that you serve that is your real portfolio, right? A Fiesta could be as good for my 70-year-old mum as it is for the 16-year-old version of myself. The question is, which Fiesta do you sell to whom? Same product, multiple segments, but I think now the fact that you can tap TV to do this without having to say, all right, I'll go for one over the other and have to kind of lose one, I'm getting this analogy wrong, lose one bird for whatever is in the bush. That doesn't work, right? So I love the idea of where this is headed.
I think the other thing that I would advise, I guess, is that whether you're a big advertiser or a small advertiser, what I would advise is to stop, pause, and reflect. And what I mean by that is, we've all worked in media and marketing and TV for a very long time. Some, for 30 odd years, and preconceived ideas are, the fast pathway to downfall. And this is a great opportunity to reconsider your beliefs on what's an effective media outcome. Reassess whether Google search, direct mail, or Facebook is the right vehicle, and whether addressable can play that role, whether TV can play that role. being present in the most impactful, safe, non-fraudulent medium. I'm slightly biased, but at a fair and reasonable price that you can drive efficient outcomes, I think is a real opportunity. And so for me, it's about that. Stop, pause, reflect, reinvest.
I think as a summary, as we mentioned, I think for multinational and large corporations, the measurement piece, the performance piece has always been a very important part of it. And now you're marrying that with the larger scale of what we used to call romantic TV. Because, TV has always been a very well-loved medium. The only issue that we have had in the past was the targeting piece, the performance piece, and and we are marrying that, and I think it works very well. And also on the multinational and large corporations fund, point of view, as you mentioned, it's not only just about broad reach, because you are doing targeting yourself, right? I mean, your products, some are meant for, like you said, Kota Baru. Some are meant for certain demographics. So within your large space that you are dealing with, you also want to do small targeting whenever is possible. And I think Jamie mentioned that as an extension of your broader reach campaign that you do right in the beginning.
Actually, your cosmetic brands in the East Coast who are traditionally on outdoor and stuff like that, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for them because they don't need to be national. And it really fulfills their ROI.
I think, if I may add to what everyone is saying, this is relatively a new proposition that we're taking to the market, and MNCs like Unilever, like Maxis, you probably would need to actually test and learn while we put this forward, right? And while your scale, you might have also internal challenges in terms of doing the convincing internally to your majority of your stakeholders. So I think that could be a challenge for us, even agencies. But for the SMEs, I mean, we have got, talking about East Coast, we've got our people from East Coast here. They are the champions in terms of East Coast marketing. And they are all, the SMEs in East Coast are with them. And some of them are more than willing to come forward to try new things. So I think this addressable, option is really great for them because it is also, it is not that taxing when it even comes to cost, right? So that's basically to just add to what the rest of the panels are saying.
So I've just remembered, my grandmother used to say to me, she's no longer with us, but she used to tell me off an awful lot. And what she used to say to me was, I can't do the accent, but no, she used to say to me, Jamie, you know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And I thought that's particularly relevant when you think about addressability, because if you just focus on the price, that's kind of not going to get you the answer. It's understanding the value. So my grandmother was a very wise lady when she was still on this earth.
I think there was a point about SMEs, and Sheila, you mentioned more than once, and we have quite a lot of SMEs in this room, and I think in Malaysia, so a lot of SMEs find it, Ty mentioned it before this, there was a barrier for SMEs to go into TV. And I think this gives them a perfect opportunity to get into it and to try, without over-investing too much into a format.
So it is about ROMI. I don't want to say return on media investment. I mean, that is a very traditional way of how we measure. I invest 100,000, you get 2x, you get 3x, the sort of thing. I mean, we still do that. But it's also about, the marketing investment that you put in and the marketing metrics that you want to actually measure, yeah? So, for advertisers, there are 3 areas they normally look at, in terms of growth, whether I'm growing my relationship with my existing customers, is it deepening my relationship? Am I cross-selling, upselling, right? Am I bringing in new customers to my business? And is my brand indicator, am I building brand love? So in all these 3 key areas, which one do we pick and where do we want to invest? So the question of ROI for me, the traditional way of measuring ROI is actually shifting more to the marketing ROI.
Just one bit. I think from planning perspective, we plan media to drive penetration, automatically reach. So we can test and learn, but I think end of the day, if you really want to shift, then it has to be scalable. That's the key for us, to make it scalable across different segments. And obviously, when you make it scalable, it becomes much more cost efficient for you.
Just to add, I just realized something that Sheila mentioned earlier, and it kind of got me thinking, because she kind of mentioned about how look, there might be some barriers to overcome in terms of engaging our stakeholders and getting buy-in and so forth. And I think unlike other innovations in this case, addressable, I believe, has an easier runway. Because as JJ would know, as a digital marketeer, all you're doing right now is keeping your digital marketer hot and staring at TV.
Yeah.
The same sort of iterative thinking when it comes to audience segmentations, the same sort of like creative management platforms that you deploy for all your various programmatic, and the way you think about analytics and reporting, and the way you try to connect it back to some sort of return, I think that's the same sort of mentality you'd want to look at addressable advertising on TV as, and then kind of challenge both parties to see whether we can get closer to a solution. I mean, we for one, I find this going to be an easy sell, frankly. But I think the operational team is going to have to try and get used to the fact that this is not how we buy TV anymore moving in the future. And I think kind of embrace that challenge and kind of see what we could get out of it.
Tai, you just gave me a perfect opportunity to ask the next big question, which is coming up. So this question is actually directed to Bala and Sheila, which is more on the media specialist side of it. You know, you work with all kinds of media. And my question is that how do you see addressable TV in the marketing mix, the media mix? I open this question for Bala, for Sheila, but of course, JJ, Tai, if you want to weigh in from your experience, Jamie, please do so.
So we know that technology has been growing faster than adoption, right? And whether you're an early adopter or a late majority, TV scheduled viewing is now shifting to on-demand or convenience viewing. So the understanding of prime time, the currency that we use to measure scheduled prime time, is actually diminishing, right? So what we do at Group M is basically we are looking at all these changes that is happening in technology as well as in consumer behavior, and we have created products and solutions for our clients, more with a future forward view. And we will be launching Finecast this year. Finecast is available in 15 other countries worldwide, and we will be rolling it out in Malaysia very soon. And with Finecast, our aim is actually to provide a single source access to all addressable advertising ecosystem. That's what we're doing here. And again, like what Jamie has pointed out, with addressable, we are able to actually do hyper local targeting, and we at Finecast, we are able to bring it down right up to postcode level, even at district level. So that is how powerful Finecast is, as well as, we are partnering with Astro in this whole entire addressable journey. So with that, I hope we will be able to actually bring in more options to advertisers and also to our clients who are looking at exploring, this new way of reaching out to target audience and delivering the ROI that they're actually looking at. Because today, more and more marketers are more concerned, if I have got only 100,000 ringgit, where am I going to put my money? So it's just not the question of whether I'm going to put it only on TV or whether we're going to move the money from TV, but it's also about, whether we are putting it in other digital platform, are they going to deliver the same value, for the advertisers?
Bala?
So 15 years ago, I had a conversation with an FMCG client. The conversation was about, whether we should be having always on or whether we should be doing bursting because they have limited amount of budget. So the question I had for her was, how many units of your product are you selling a month? And that came to about 30,000 products or something. So then the question was, then why do you need to reach millions of people in just one burst, because you're leaving everything else out? And she said it's a valid conversation, it's a valid point to make that, we should be on, but there was no real way of knowing for sure that, we're targeting the right audiences at the right places. So for us at Media Brands, we do what's called high-value audiences and growth audiences. These two things are, through our agencies, these two things are geared very much towards maximizing the marketing ROIs. Again, I think we love our GRPs and reach, but we are moving away from those. Those are exposure metrics. They're important, but that's not what really counts. What really counts is what is the end delivery for the client. And I think once we start to track how we invest the money and link that back to the results, then we start to see, you know, whether it's really working or not, which is why we try our best to fuse analytics together with media measurements so that we can actually track what's working, what's not, and we are seeing good results from it.
Okay, thanks. Now, my next question for the entire panel here, everyone here, straightforward question, but it's going to be more from a neutral stance, right? So today's theme is about addressable advertising. So my question to all of you is that, do you think the future of TV will be only addressable TV? Yes, no, why, please? Anyone? Yeah, Sheila? Yeah.
I don't think so. Because if you look at it today, we've got still large advertisers in the FMCG categories. We still have, whether it is in retail, whether it is in telco or even mobile device advertisers, TV will still be the main part of their media mix. Right? That will still be. I mean, it serves different objectives. Probably it's for mass reach. It could be for brand consideration. It could also be for fame, for that matter, right? Now, having said that, we do know the traditional way of how we measure effectiveness of TV is based on reach curve, and viewing time, time span. Those are the metrics that we use to measure the performance of TV. It's quite templated, it's quite formatted, and it has been like the many years that we've been doing TV. But if you look at those parameters, they are all declining, right? Now, even though they are declining, it doesn't mean that content consumption is declining. Content consumption is all-time high. And the number of hours that, the content supply and content consumption that we see is the highest in the last 5 years. So that gives us the reason for addressable, right? So when we talk about addressable, then is addressable going to be a new tool for marketers to actually expand in terms of, the precise targeting and managing wastage? Then yes. Yeah? So there is a space for both addressable and linear to coexist. And linear today, even with linear TV, with Astro, we are still be able to go into precise targeting. We can do addressable with linear as well. So there is a space for both linear as well as addressable to coexist, depending on the objective of what we want to achieve.
Thanks, Sheila. Bala?
Yeah, I still think that for mass campaigns, campaigns are very much dependent on the objectives. For mass campaigns, for launches, for festive campaigns, for government messages, like, we had lots and lots of COVID-related messages, those don't need to go into addressable platforms because, everybody needs to understand and get to those messages. What I do think will happen is that the percentage of addressable spend will probably increase over time as we fine-tune the way addressable is done with better targeting, as well as once there are positive results that come out from doing these things, then more advertisers would want to jump on board and take advantage of those capabilities.
Okay, for us, I think if you look at 4 years back, there was no concept of OTT, that OTT will grow so fast. And now today we are talking about 15 to 16 million subscribers on every OTT platform, primarily Southeast Asia. So the answer is yes or no, but I think from our lens, we look at the consumer journey. What is the role that addressable TV will play in terms of our consumer by brand, by segment, by precision marketing segments? And if it is important for us to divert the investment, yes. And how it will shape up the future, it will shape up the future. Because the TV will become more like a supermarket. And I'm sure LG and Samsung will be launching soon advertising format. So LG will be talking to us, you want to reach out to 15 million consumers in Malaysia, talk to us. So yeah, it will become super complicated. Consumer journey will become once again much more, not linear anymore. So we have to keep an eye on and make sure that we stay relevant. But what Bala said, the share of investment on addressable TV will grow further, provided we have the right metrics in place and right measurement in place, aligned with all the industry stakeholders.
I want to say yes, but the real answer is no, because we all have lazy days. We all have days where we tick all of the above. I'm not sure whether you guys like all the curries you have at the banana leaf line, but there are days you feel like or the sandwich bar in the Subway, for example. There might be only 5 toppings you really like, but because you're lazy to name them all one by one, you just say a little bit of everything. And I think that's the reason why the answer is no, and there will always be a place for top banner placement in YouTube landing pages. There will always be a place for cover wraps on print advertising. We all get lazy once in a while, and there will be days that we run out of time, or we run out of insight, or we run out of data to make a proper bet into a particular segment of society, and we default to tick all the boxes above. And I think that's the reason why you would see sort of these complementary buys next to addressable. But I think it is, at least in my personal hope and wish, that sometime down the line we see addressable as the dominant way that marketeers will think about using television advertising.
So Ty, basically you're saying that if we are in the day for lazy planning, then we just buy...
I just realized I've shot myself in the foot, because the next time you see a Maxis ad in the YouTube landing splash page, or you see it in the front wrap, that's not always the case sometimes.
So I think if you drop the word only from that statement, is addressable the future of TV? Yes. And the reason why is because it makes TV that much more relevant, flexible, and effective for advertisers. But no one would ever expect every advertiser to look the same, behave the same, and be the same. But TV allows you to do what you need, when you need, with the right budget to the right household.
Okay.
I guess you can say for some clients, addressable TV will be the only option.
Yeah, totally.
That's a very, very good point. Yes. Yes. Okay, my final question, actually this question will wrap up everything that Henry mentioned, Vivek mentioned, and also the panel here that I mentioned. So my broad general question to you, all 5 of you, will be, what do you think is the future of TV? The big question, right, philosophical question, especially with regards to advertising and ADX, and ad tech. What are your thoughts? I'll start with Ty, then we'll go down this path.
No, I think the future's bright. That's somebody else's tagline. But I think the future is going to be fairly. I'll be fairly optimistic about the future of TV advertising. I think there's also a bit of a regression from like personal small screen, short form content, to an increased appreciation to larger screen, collective viewing, high quality content. So I think there is a cycle of a return to sort of high engagement. And I combine that with sort of this capability of addressable. I think the long-term future of TV, I suppose, looks fairly bright.
Thanks.
I would say that, the TV landscape, if you see it in the past 5 years, the changes in the past 5 years is actually more than what it has seen in the last 50 years, I would say, if I may say so. And where I'm getting at with this is that when so much has changed, the way how TV is defined has also changed, but the way how we look at advertising seems to be the same. So the way how we do it, advertising on TV has also got to change, accordingly, because it's just not linear. We're talking about, it's also OTT. Then, with clients and with advertisers, they basically will ask then, how do we actually combine both to see, in terms of the performance overall? So these are some of the considerations that we are looking at. But having said that, at Group M, we are very upbeat, looking at the indicators, especially with OTT growing at a rate of 30% between now and 2026, and also SVOD coming into place. We also see that AVOD is also coming in. So with that, I think Addressable will be able to take some part of the ADAX, capture some part of the ADAX for growth on this side. So we are quite upbeat that, the changes in the landscape will actually bring back some ADAX back to TV.
I think the TV future is definitely bright. But when we see the impact on ADEX, so in case of Malaysia, we do have ADEX in terms of the TV measurement. We don't have ADEX in terms of, we have directional number coming on digital ADEX. But I think the most important part is because now we are dealing and buying and implementing our campaigns through various digital platforms. Do we have the ADEX reporting? No, we don't have that. But sooner or later, it will come in soon, which will help us in making sure that we are making the right choices in terms of pricing, consumer, in terms of targeting. So, and just to give you one example, a market like Cambodia, where the population is 15 million, pre-COVID, there was a TV channel, used to be Cambodian Television Network, and they saw a massive dip in viewership, and during the COVID, the same thing happened, and they launched the OTT platform. From the fact that there was a huge demand of the content itself, people were watching the content on their mobile, not on TV. They had to launch an OTT platform in a market like Cambodia, still a growing market, and they don't have ADEX, but there's a willingness of advertisers to invest in the platform to make sure that eventually it will help them. So yeah, I think TV future is definitely bright.
Yeah, I think we saw earlier in Vivek's chart as well in Malaysia, where it showed that linear TV advertising possibly could drop a bit, but offset by growth in the other types of TV advertising. So I think overall there's still going to be growth on TV, and that's fantastic. And this is actually, addressable TV is a huge opportunity to attract new categories, new clients, new ways of doing things as well. And what's also really interesting is that apart from just media ADAX, addressable TV also means that we can do addressable content. And that's a huge opportunity because cost of content has come down dramatically compared to the past where you have to spend a lot just to have one TV ad. So you can have many different versions, very low costs, targeted manner, really increase and improve your return on investment for your marketing spends.
So I think my prediction is that I think that the mix of advertisers will change dramatically as a result of addressable. I think the share of overall marketing spend will grow for TV as an industry, will grow massively. And when I think about addressability, I think, Vivek had some charts on revenue in the UK, but, for Sky, addressable campaigns account for 25% of the revenue. And that is growing. And so the number of advertisers coming to TV year in, year out, growing the number of advertisers in existence is a real opportunity. I think the biggest area of change is going to be in behavior. Behavior in sales, behavior in buying, and the behavior of clients, and insight and the usage of that insight.
Thank you very much, Jamie. So I'm done with my questions. Cynthia, are there any questions?
All right. Thank you guys so much for the wonderful session. So wonderful that we have over 30 questions from the audience. You guys are amazing. We'll try to get to all of the questions. So maybe we can pull up the first one. We have about 15 to 20 minutes or so, so let's get right to it. Can we pull up the slider for the questions? We will also open the floor for questions in case you want to jump right in and send some more questions up. There will be people with the mic, so just raise your hand and we will get the mic to you. All right, so the first question. Wow, this is a very hyper-localized, already localized question. How do we target Malay-only customers for a Muslim-specific product with addressable TV? I'm going to direct this question to our local guys right here. Maybe Ty can help me out with this.
No, sorry, the question is for Astro, then addressable advertising, the answer is yes.
So
that's the
maybe I can help here.
The answer is yes. And target Malay-only customers for a Muslim-specific product, and they find you the perfect content for it.
Yeah, so you can target by race, you can target by location. I think Henry showed earlier, right? There are many demographic profiles you can target, and I guess over time you can target by interests, you can target by fandom. So there are many, many ways that you can be very specific in terms of how you want to target.
Just one bit, you can definitely target, but you have to keep in mind that your cost CPM would be much higher versus your linear TV. So that, just keep that in mind.
Can I just quickly add to that? How granular can the data go into the targeting, profiling?
Okay, you see, the thing is that Astro has first-party data, right? So you know the profile in terms of a Malay household. And with that, I think it's actually quite straightforward in terms of targeting Malay customers. It's not going to be that complicated because race-based targeting, then of course, if you're going to layer it with behavior, need state, these are the possibilities that we can do with addressable.
All right. Okay, let me get straight to the second question. Can this new platform be more robust with Astro Radio and digital to drive unified message and ultimately drive CTA to clients, be it digital e-commerce?
The answer is yes, right? Because you have e-commerce targeting capabilities.
And if Astro say you can do it, yes, we can do it, of course.
I mean, but I do want to appreciate the complexity of I mean, so this concept obviously isn't this omni-channelness about how you'd like to combine and make the data fungible between platforms are obviously a really powerful concept. But I do appreciate that there is a pipeline and a runway towards these capabilities, I would imagine.
Yeah, so just to give you a bit of context, so Astro are building out the capabilities with a long-term ambition to be able to serve a single campaign across all Astro platforms. Now that requires a huge amount of innovation, development, investment, but it's a journey they're going on. And I think that there are other territories that are looking to build that capability. And quite honestly, it's what marketers and agencies are looking for: unified measurement, unified ad serving, and unified effectiveness. And I think that when you look at that as a capability, you then get to a point where you're able to assess the ROI of each individual media sort of platform. And that is when it really becomes powerful, because you'll see, what is driving the uplift. But I would hazard a guess, it is not today's launch, it's tomorrow's. Tomorrow's another day.
All right, Jamie, on that note, can I just add a question to that? Because right now, audience targeting within the Astro ecosystem is based on households. Is there a capability in the future to allow individual targeting within households, based on your observations in Europe and in the US?
So I think there's a mixture of viewing behaviors. So what you would end up having is the ability to serve individually targeted ads to those viewing on devices, so whether that be phone or tablet or other such devices. That's absolutely guaranteed. But one of the things that Sky did in its early days was to include modeling within the targeting. So for example, if you knew that you were targeting, a younger adult within the household, you included within the targeting the profile of the program and the likelihood of someone being younger rather than older. So you constantly evolve the algorithm for ad decisioning in the process. You're never going to get it 100% correct when you're targeting a household, but you can improve that targeting over time.
All right, thank you so much, Jamie. We have a question from Captain Jack Sparrow, who's in the audience today with us. It was mentioned that addressable TV has digital capabilities. Is it more enticing, and how would it be different from the likes of Google and Facebook?
Anyone?
I think they're looking at you, Jamie.
Oh, right, okay. So, okay, continuing with the theme of Captain Jack Sparrow, would you rather advertise in Pirates of the Caribbean, targeting the household that you want to reach, or would you rather advertise in user-generated content to a household or an individual that may not be who you want, but who they want themselves to be? Because what you're targeting on addressable is verified, first-party data in premium brand-safe environments. So is it a digital capability? Yes, but it goes beyond, because you have the power of TV, the brand safety of TV, with some, if not all, of digital capabilities.
All right. We are also taking questions from the audience. You can just raise your hands and we will bring the mic to you. Do we have anyone? All right, okay. Let's get back to the Slido questions then. We have plenty to go. The next one, please. From Esther, this question. Is addressable TV built on top of linear TV? Does that mean that linear TV will eventually fade away as they are playing against each other? Do you agree on that comment? And what do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yes, addressable TV is built on the top of linear TV, but I don't think so there will be the devalue of the linear TV itself, because what Sheila said earlier, it may be relevant for mass brand. It may be relevant for brands which want to reach out to 90% of Malaysians in Malaysia. So it will stay relevant. However, the share or the mix will change, what Jamie said. The mix will change for sure, by category, by brand, by platform for sure, but it will not fade away. And once again, it also depends on the market saturation. In a market like where the rural penetration is 80%, TV will play a very, very important role. But a market like Malaysia, Singapore, yes, the shift will happen very fast.
All right. We have, unfortunately, one last question because we have about a couple of minutes left. Can we have a look at that question, please? No more? Okay, all right. I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much to our panel, Kenny, Balak, Jamie, JJ, Sheila, and Ty, so much for this wonderful session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I found that very insightful, and I hope you found it as valuable as I did. So for the next part, we were supposed to be joined by Kanta Media's Nick Burfitt for this session, but we are very sorry to inform that he will not be able to join us today due to unforeseen circumstances. Our sincerest apologies on behalf of Nick and Astro. All right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's close to 5 p.m. and with that, we have come to the last leg of our event today. I would like to invite to the stage Shafiq Abdul Jabbar, Group Chief Financial Officer, Astro Malaysia Holdings, to close off the event with some insights into recent case studies and exciting plans ahead for Astro Addressable Advertising. Over to you, Shafiq.
Testing. Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Good evening, everyone. Esteemed business partners, honored guests. Ladies and gentlemen, a bit of introduction about myself. I'm an ex-banker who accidentally stumbled into media. As you can see, I'm still dressed like a banker, so maybe I still need a bit more time. But the shoes are brown and the tie is gone. And I'm now helping to package business solutions for clients. I've been involved in data. I got wrapped up in data in my time in Astro. To sum up, I'm now juggling two parts, a cognitive and emotive repertoires within the firm. Thank you for coming today. We brought the best to share their experiences with you, and we hope this has helped spark a eureka moment, hopefully unboxing a plethora of magical ideas on how your businesses can benefit from Astro's addressable advertising. Please note that this is a new beginning, a new journey, but we are only taking a first step, a very first step as we chart a new path. Ladies and gents, today, TV has become connected. It has become highly engaging. It has become highly personalized. In my mind, it comprises of three things. And I'll repeat these three things throughout because this is what I want you to take away. Number one, it's audience first. Number two, experience-led. Number three, data supported. Audience first, experience-led, data supported. Okay? And these three are underpinned by a key binding agent. What is that binding agent? That is content. Right? And Astro is built on the foundation of content. which confers us the ability to bundle multimedia platforms together. I think you heard Jamie mention that. Not for today, but multimedia platforms together. Done properly, the brand impact using audience, experience, and data can be exponential. Not linear, exponential. Ladies and gents, third-party cookies are on their way out. What is this? This is more than just shifting sands for this industry. These are tectonic plates of advertising that are shifting. It's causing an earthquake. Data becomes ever more critical in a personalized advertising world. Therefore, the disappearance of third-party cookies is an advertising adversity. But it is also an advertising opportunity. Over the last few years, we've been building our collection of data across all of our media assets. Yes, we now have a treasure chest of data, both first-party and data-enriched. Data-enriched means taking first-party and drawing it out further. Yes, this treasure chest of both first-party and data-enriched continues to grow as we speak. To give some color to context, we have profiled audience segments. You've heard this before, but I'll just re-emphasize. We have profiled audience segments according to basic static data. Static data like location. Static, you don't move. Where's your house is. Static location, static data like dwelling. What kind of a house you're living in. And we've also profiled audiences based on dynamic data, such as viewing behavior, viewing patterns. And this is only to name a few. I cannot go through the full list, but there is much, much more. What does this do? This enables us to place highly relevant ads against highly relevant audiences. Again, you've heard the panel, you've heard the speeches from Henry. Highly relevant ads against highly relevant audiences. I'll give you an example. Imagine the impact you will have if you put a Manchester United ad in front of a Liverpool supporter. Or if you put a Manchester United ad in front of a Man U supporter. The impact is immense. Whether you want them to feel really bad or you want them to feel really happy. Just one example. Ladies and gents, we've moved to the era of smart data. By combining the emotive facets of advertising, persuasion, influence, and all of that, with the cognitive facets of data, combining the two together, we now have the ability to match left brain with right brain together. We believe Astro's addressable advertising can reshape the future of TV advertising. Maybe taking it even further, the future of advertising altogether. Helping you win customers in this new era. If you're an SME, this is good news for you, as you can still access TV inventory. You heard that from the panel, you heard that from Jamie. Actual real-life case study in the UK. Addressable advertising can be scaled up, can be scaled down to suit various different industries, various different businesses of different sizes. And therefore, SMEs can now use TV. This is a first for us. And we hope this will help us bring local enterprises up to the next level. Malaysia is full of SMEs. This is an opportunity for SMEs, for clients. As always, brand safety is a priority. My team assures me that we have robust QC in place, and your ads will be appropriately placed, giving marketeers peace of mind. Ladies and gents, you've heard the gurus of our industry share with you the key benefits of addressable advertising. You've heard in this speech of mine the theory of what could be achieved. But we all know at the end of the day, it all boils down to business outcomes. It's results that matter. I mean, I'm a CFO, so results matter. Please indulge me as I share some observations from independently commissioned brand lift studies across a number of local campaigns taken by early adopters. I emphasize these are independently commissioned studies. Independent. In a campaign for a telco, through Astro's addressable advertising, brand perception on the fastest network services improved, not by 2, not by 1, by 21 percentage points. 21 percentage points. While brand perception for most reliable network services increased by 17 percentage points. The power of audience, experience, data. In another campaign, Astro's addressable advertising managed to garner positive shifts in brand consideration, right? To use this client service. Some intriguing callouts. I mean, you can have a look at this later, but some intriguing callouts. Overall positive shift of 25 percentage points. 25. An even more interesting callout, gender demographics. The highest consideration shift that was seen in this study was among males, not females, males. A whopping 40 percentage point shift. 40. Get this, 70% of the males who watched the ad was more inclined to the product. It was an uplift of 2.3x against those who didn't see. Through 2.3 times. The power again of audience, experience, data. Also with the same ad, another interesting point, race demographics. Highest consideration shift was among Chinese. The Chinese customers had an impressive uplift of 38 percentage points, a shift of 38 percentage points. Slightly lower than the 40, but what's more remarkable, the uplift was 2.7x against those who didn't see the ad. Again, the power of audience, experience, data. Ladies and gents, we are excited to be pioneering addressable advertising in Southeast Asia. All of us here today are players in this ecosystem. In order for us to truly enjoy this new journey, we need to have industry awareness, which is why we're doing this, industry education, we need to learn how to use this, and industry adoption, it going big. My fellow Malaysians, this one is taking it a bit more personally. The Malaysian ad market lags behind the rest of our peers in Southeast Asia. I think for those of you who are long in this industry, you know this. Whether it is ad spend per capita or whether it is ad spend per GDP, whichever way you look at it, whichever way, ad spend in Malaysia is roughly about half of that in Philippines, half of that in Thailand, half of that in Singapore. The good news is, with this Astro Addressable Advertising, we can now link cause to effect. Simply put, we now have the ability to link ads to customer impact. You've heard all of that earlier. There's so much ground to be gained here, so much, if we get things right. I am minded, whatever we're presenting here today is only TV. We can do much, much, much more than just TV. But that's for another day. if addressable TV represents one of the most significant shifts in decades. This is major. If there is one thing I'd like you to take away from today, it's audience, experience, data. It's game-changing. It has the ability to deliver a non-zero-sum outcome. Mathematically, what that means is 1 plus 1 plus 1 is more than 3. That's what it means. Happy clients, happy customers, happy agencies. And it only gets better because what we know today gets sharper and sharper and sharper over time. We hope to take the lead in this journey together with our business partners. We are committed to the growth of addressable advertising in Malaysia. Before I end, our teams are on ground to answer any questions and explore ways of which you can begin the addressable journey. So don't hesitate to reach out. Once again, thank you everyone. Have a good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your patience and staying on till the end of the event. Now, before I let you go, I'd like to turn your attention to a QR code on the screen, if you can display that right now, because what I want you to do is to take out your phone, scan it, and answer a quick survey to rate the event. It will only take less than 30 seconds. We really appreciate if you can do so. All right? And the final piece of the day, ladies and gentlemen, where we announce the winners who took part in some of the quizzes we have out there earlier. So there were 8 questions, and can we please have the questions and the correct answers displayed on the screen, please? All right, while we wait for that to show up on the screen, can I also invite Kenny back on stage to announce the winners and give away the prizes. So these are the 8 questions that were asked in the quizzes earlier. Kenny, yes, can you come on stage? So how were the winners selected? They had to answer all questions correctly with the fastest timing. So we have 3 winners and amazing prizes. All right. Are we ready to announce the winners? Okay, let's start with the second runner-up. Can we have the winner? The second runner-up will walk away with a 64GB iPad in silver. Oh. Lu Yungman, Mindshare, please come on stage. All right, next, can we have the name of the first runner-up, please? Gavina from IPG. Now, Gavina will be walking away with an Oppo Reno 7 5G smartphone. Can we have Gavina? Gavina? Going once, going twice, or I will take it home. All right, we'll try to contact Gavina later on, all right? Okay, last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, this is the best one. The grand prize, this person will walk away with a Samsung 65-inch 4K smart LED TV worth 3,199 ringgit. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have the grand prize winner. Who is it? Lubna from Mindshare. Congratulations. Is Lubna around? Anyone from Mindshare? Any of your colleagues? Can we have someone on stage to take this on behalf of Lubna? Because no way she's not. she'll be really upset to know that you guys gave away a 64-inch TV. All right, thank you so much. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, all of you. On behalf of Astro, we thank you so much for being with us today for the Addressable Future event. To all our guests, please stay on. Join us for a networking session and refreshments outside. No point going home now. Traffic is bad, so might as well just hang on and have fun. There will also be a dog gift on your way out, so please don't hesitate to take one home. Just a quick note on the parking. To validate your parking ticket, the machine is available at the foyer on this level right before you head to the lift for a flat parking rate of 10 ringgit. All right? Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Take care. And we'll see you again soon. Now, before we go, can I get the speakers up on stage again for a photo op? All the speakers, please. And to the media who's here today, we will move to room Pinnacle 1 for the press conference. Just give us a couple of minutes for the photo op, and then we will get to it immediately for the press conference.